Eleni, we are delighted that you've been able to make time in your schedule to come up here and talk to us here in the Penthouse Suite interviews. And I was wanting to start off the conversation by getting a little background, and I want to go back to 2016 when Wiley purchased Atypon. And I was wondering, can you tell us how that acquisition has impacted Atypon? What changes in management and company vision have you guys experienced since the acquisition?
First of all, thank you very much for inviting me. It's a great pleasure to be with you here today. I was part of the journey of Atypon, and I've been with the company for quite a long time. I joined in 2012 in Santa Clara. That's where I first started that journey. And it is very exciting to think of the time in 2016 when the acquisition happened. I can still recall where I was. I was actually in Greece on holidays, and I remember that we were acquired by Wiley. I think it was a very positive thing. Very well received when it happened, and I think as it has turned out, now we're nearly 3 years, 2.5 years later, all in all, it has been a very positive development for the company, and I think for all of us as the employees. It is very nice to be a member of the Wiley family, which, as you know, is a 200 well-established company. But at the same time, we are and still remain independent. I think generally we remain innovative. We maintain the spirit of the startup we've had all the time, and obviously a company that strives to understand our customers and through technology deliver value. So, to answer your question, it has been a very positive development, and of course, the most important thing, it has allowed us to remain independent and genuine in our identity.
Yeah, as you were talking, I was thinking they are still an independent company, doing a variety of things that.
Correct.
Now, what did Wiley bring to the table? What have they enabled Atypon to do that Atypon might not have been able to do otherwise? I mean, there's two parts in your questions, I would say, because there's the part of what did it bring to the table, and obviously what are those things that, hadn't it not been for Wiley, we wouldn't have been able to do alone, or it would have been much harder. So obviously, as you know, we are the provider of technology hosting the Wiley online library, as we do for many other publishers. And of course, this is a very good situation to be in, because obviously Wiley wants us to be successful, and that's a big gain. Yeah, you're part of the family in
exactly.
any sense.
So, and that's also good for all our other publishers, which means that we will continue to strive to be the best we can and deliver the best possible product and value to all of our customers, the publishers, and obviously their customers too, the librarians and the institutions, which are so important. I think another aspect that I feel is important, and an area where we have been, if you like, really investing time and energy, is really understanding the needs of our customers, the publishers, and their customers. And if you think about it, being part of the Wiley family has opened up even a deeper channel, because you have to empathize with your customer, deeply understand what are their challenges, see the opportunities that they see, so you can actually deliver products that have what I call the market fit, which means they help you create value, they help you capture value. So in that sense, being part of that family is just giving us an even deeper understanding of the publisher perspective, if you like.
And it enables you to expand the business because you're more aware of their concerns and issues.
Of course, and when you taking the word expand, I'll give you another perspective, which I think is also critical. Obviously, being part of this Wiley family has allowed us to see other kind of, if you like, adjacent aspects of the publisher operation. For example, the educational aspect. As you know, publishers deliver their content in courseware to institutions and corporations. They do that through learning management systems. So for us, it was a great opportunity, not only through Wiley, but also other of our publishers, to actually understand the ecosystem and what value could we bring. The outcome of this opportunity and this collaboration is that our platform, Literatum, is being integrated with leading learning management systems, like
the ones that are known, I can obviously mention them, people are aware, Moodle, Blackboard, Canvas. So we are basically integrating with those systems using the IMS standards, which means that all the content on Literatum can be delivered through the learning management systems to the student in their courseware and also the corporate learner. So as you can see, there's beautiful opportunities to actually expand what we do and create obviously more value to our customers.
Well, it's enabled you to expand your vision of what the market could be.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
And I think, delivering value, because if you think about it, and that's the beauty of this, is not only content, traditionally the student will read books. Typically there were textbooks, and as we've come to understand better and better, usually those were uploaded, so it meant that you as a student never actually visited the publisher site. So through this tight integration with learning management systems, you as the learner will now go to the book on the publisher site. What's even more brilliant about this is that the book is no longer just a static text. We actually were a couple of weeks ago in the Frankfurt Book Fair, and we demonstrated a book that's interactive. It had video in it, it had a podcast in it, and obviously interactive elements. And this is where I also think, if you like, the world is going of education, of learning, of interacting with content. It's becoming more interactive, it's becoming more alive, it's becoming rich. And it's almost like an expectation that we, as readers, as researchers, as learners, are building, that these systems will provide these capabilities. So think about, content in our platform being videos and podcasts, and as I said, interactive books coming through those learning management systems in front of your iPad as part of your courseware.
It really has expanded, as you said earlier, has really expanded things, and it has expanded really the notion of content too, as I think about it.
And I think there's a lot of beauty in that. I mean, there's a lot of goodness, not only for the quality of the research and the outcomes, but also the understanding that we and the community develops when those artifacts are there to support what's stated in what we've all, grew up with, right? Which is, of course, the article, the PDF, or the textbook. It's, I think, a transition that I find very we're lucky to be experiencing that this is actually happening and it's transforming. And I'm feeling very, pleased that I'm part of it as well, and that our company and our publishers are part of, this wonderful journey as well.
I think it's exciting. It's exciting for the entire industry. All of us are, I agree. Atypon has also itself been in the acquisitions business a little bit of late. You all have added publishing technology companies, Inera, RedLink, Etheria, and Manuscripts, I think, are the four that I have listed here. What do these developments, these acquisitions, say about the company's goals and your strategy for the future?
I think that's a very good question. So I think to answer this question, it's really important to kind of circle back on what's the key ingredient, if you like, of the success of the research ecosystem. And if we pose this question to ourselves, what is that part without which, this ecosystem wouldn't probably even exist? Looking into this question, I think the answer is the researcher. Without a researcher, would there be a research ecosystem? Probably not. It's the researcher, right? The one that invests the time and the energy to go look for information, to create scientific outcomes, to write them, to publish them, to provide code and data and other supporting artifacts, as we just described, to support their claims, to communicate their outcomes, not only to the scientific community, but to the wider, let's say, audience. It is the researcher, right? Therefore, that's the key ingredient of what we are all experiencing as the ecosystem, and through which we are all participating in a value chain, if you like, creating value and capturing value. So if you think about that, it's important that we offer the researchers the need, so they become more efficient in what they do, in the time they invest, they become more productive, and I think more importantly, that the quality of their work is increasing for the benefit of themselves and the benefit, obviously, of the entire community. So if you think about those tools, what are those tools trying to do, really? They're trying to help the researcher And when we help the researcher, obviously, we are helping our customers, the publishers, right, to benefit. We are helping the researchers to go and find the information in the places which are trusted. And we're helping the librarians, the institutions themselves benefit from the creation of good quality knowledge and scientific outcomes. And all of these tools that you mentioned are actually contributing in one way or another, in some ways that the researcher, wants to achieve these outcomes. I don't know if we can go through them one by one, obviously, or you have more questions.
No, I have a few more questions, but I'd love to hear it.
The first thing that always resonates with me, because I must admit, I'm even suffering myself, is what I call the information overflow.
Yes, I think we all are.
We all resonate with that. And I must admit, I'm sometimes like saying, just stop and take a breath. It can certainly be managed. But it is true. And even as a researcher, in the short life that I had as a researcher, and I believe researchers of today probably are experiencing it even more. It's been a few years now for me. Yeah. They must be suffering more than I did with what I call the information overflow syndrome. And actually, not only that, but actually gathering the quality information that's relevant to what I do. The biggest challenge, as you know, is interdisciplinary.
Yes.
I was also doing some sort of research in such a field, and I understand the complexity has grown exponentially over the years. So one of the tools you didn't mention, which was part of an acquisition, Citrus, very recently launched, we had a press release, is trying to solve that specific problem, a very real, practical problem. How do I stay on top of relevant, up-to-date, quality information that is related to my interests, to my fields of study and research? There you are. Citrus is the answer to that need. And obviously from there, go to the trusted sources, the publishers, to get the information. The other tool, manuscripts, that you've mentioned, which was also recently launched, it was going through a beta phase, and now it's officially launched, allows the author to do the very creative part of their job, which is to actually collaborate. And I think we all acknowledge production of the article is a collaborative process, right? So collaborate with other authors and produce and write their article. And not only just write the text, but more importantly, input their code and data and visualizations and charts and interactive elements that somehow reproduce or represent their findings. So that's what manuscript is about. And the other tool you mentioned, Authoria, which is very, very successful already in the open peer review community, obviously allows effectively the community, the researchers, to post their articles even as preprints, to go through an open peer review process and have code and data that's supporting, again, their publication.
Okay. You kind of anticipated a question I was going to have about those two, Citrus and manuscripts. And it seems with that move towards providing these kinds of tools, that the company is moving, and you've kind of hinted at this, in fact, you pretty much said it, as not moving away, but becoming more than just a platform provider for publishers, but offering personalized services to individual researchers. And you've talked a little bit about that so far, but how did that philosophical turn develop for the company? When did you start thinking that we needed to really help researchers directly and individually? I'd like to hear more about when you decided to move away from just being a platform provider to getting really involved with the individual researcher, because it sounds like that's the direction you're going.
Yeah, so I'd like to kind of go back a little bit to our journey, so where we started, because it's always nice to reflect.
Yes.
I think often the future is somehow an evolution of the past. So as you probably well know, we've been around for quite some time, and if we go back to the beginning of the journey, it was the time where publishing wasn't even online.
That's right.
It was a great time, a great opportunity where, what was there as scientific outcomes and existed in the physical world was trying to find its way into the online world. A transition that at that time was unknown, with a lot of complexity and challenges, and I think we basically pave the way and help the industry to complete this transition, and we're very
to
lucky
adapt to the digital world, if
exactly,
you will.
Exactly, and embrace it, and obviously not only embrace it, but really benefit.
Right.
Benefit both as a publisher, benefit as an institution, benefit as a librarian, benefit as a constituent of the library, as a researcher. So I think a lot of goodness that has come, if you like, out of this transition. And obviously we do see that print is declining overall, right? Although it still exists, but still obviously declining as a whole, not just the research space.
Right.
But online obviously is, becoming bigger, and there is more value that's created for all the constituents, all the players, if you like, in the ecosystem. We're very lucky right now to have a very, significant, a dominant number of publishers in our platform. As you know, a very large number of journals and articles are hosted on our Literatum platform.
Right.
And this is a very privileged position to be in. And our mission right now, our goal is to help our publishers, create value for their audiences, help them through our technology, through our product, to be able to maximize what outcomes their audiences can achieve. And by audiences, it's the researcher,
Certainly.
it's the institution as well, and the librarians, and what we can do for all of them. So there's a lot of things we actually do, not only for the researcher, but also for the institution and the librarian as well. So as you know, we have acquired RedLink. RedLink has products, RedLink dashboard, that allows the librarian to better understand, the usage, the trends, the needs of their audiences, so they can make better decisions. So more like a data analytics and dashboards tool. So obviously that again helps, another, if you like, player in the ecosystem, which is not directly the researcher. So if we think about where we are now, the researcher needs are, in a focal point. The researcher, as I was saying before, is a gatekeeper for the success of all of us. And all of us, I mean, obviously ourselves as vendors, our customers, who are the publishers. So it's the realization, if you like, and the understanding that if you want, researchers are actually articulating their needs.
Yes.
There's a lot of evidence now through, user interviews, surveys, all kinds of studies that are actually giving us clear evidence that researchers are articulating their needs, the gaps that exist, the things that they want to achieve, but yet they don't have the tools to do that. So when we think about the challenge I was telling you before, the information overflow, right? There aren't necessarily many tools right now, and we believe that Citrus is definitely a tool that we're now offering that will, hit the nail. It will
that
actually
discovery capability,
exactly.
filtering your discovery. Yeah.
Exactly. So it basically addresses Michael's, let's say. So Michael is interested in leadership and change management and product management, right? And he wants to get a daily feed on his email with quality information across the entire spectrum of things that relate to these three areas of interest.
Right.
So that's a very specific ask that researchers have articulated. They want to get this kind of tool that is clean, it has a nice UI, it flows, it gives them an experience that it almost makes them want to go again and again and again and engage and make it their primary source of what I say, you drink your coffee in the morning, what's the first thing you do, right? You kind of go and see what's new.
Right.
Therefore, there you are. I mean, this is a very clear example. And what I think is amazing with the researchers is that they do articulate their needs.
Yes.
And I think that's
they're not shy about it.
They're not shy about it, no. And I think that's a good thing because, I think, in product management, I think we have this mantra that unless you empathize with your customer, you'll never be able to create a product that has a fit.
And I think you're right. The researcher is kind of the pivot point around which we all kind of rotate or we feed into and are trying to serve.
Exactly, right? And if you think, for example, the librarian's perspective, right? When we talked about the RedLink dashboard, like what's the purpose of these tools? Is really find out what it is that they need. What are they looking for that they don't have?
what are the things they have that you've purchased that are not maybe as valuable to them or as relevant based on their evolving interests and the areas that they're spending most time working on. So they're basically all tools that somehow, one way or another, are helping all of us, better serve the audience. And obviously, librarians are also our publishers' customers. They're also obviously a big constituent in helping the researchers and their student communities achieve outcomes and achieve more.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I was a head of reference services here at the College of Charleston, and that's pretty much what we did. We worked with our students and faculty to help them achieve outcomes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of beauty in that, right? And feeling that you've actually contributed positively in seeing that, these tools, these services, and your role is actually helping you get somebody forward, like they can develop and produce knowledge. So this is what I think, I can see all these tools doing for the researcher and therefore for our publishers and the community.
Now, I got the impression as I was reading through that these first two, Citrus and manuscripts, are the first two of maybe a collection of similar tools or tools that are focused at the same service. Am I on target with that?
Yes, so we have actually, you're very correct, and in fact we've launched together with Citrus and Manuscript two other, let's say we launched a new product as well, which is trying to address another significant problem, in my opinion, that not only the researchers face, but I believe all of us face as users engaged with the scientific, if you like, scholarly content. I was having a discussion with some colleagues and friends talking about my journey. If I wanted to engage with applications and workflow tools, one of the things that you probably have seen happening more is that all these applications and researcher workflow tools require you to have an account. Obviously, because when you have to annotate or you have to promote your work, your work to the world, when you have to talk about other people, submit a peer review, or whatever function you need to perform, even submit your work for peer review and publication, that all requires that you have an account through which you are identified, and therefore you proceed to use all these things. So we have identified, again, yet another need there, that the researcher needs to have, let's say, unique scholarly profile.
Yes, yeah. Okay,
and I can tell you my pain that I've tried it as a user in several occasions, and I kind of try to count how many accounts have I created.
Okay, so you're going to try to, you've developed a product that will enable researchers to pull together their accounts into one account and access them all? Is that
correct? So the product we've launched, let's say, with our Citrus and Manuscript, so it's powering those two, and we're actually rolling it out across our publishers at the beginning of next year.
Oh, great!
So that's our goal.
So we have a scoop. Do you have a name for it?
Yes, it's called Atypon Connect.
So
connect.
That's great. That's great.
I like the name because it actually is about connecting the dots, as I keep.
Sure.
And it is really about me, and I will talk about myself, and obviously a lot of other, colleagues and friends that I believe will share this experience, right? That we started on a journey to, on a publisher side, on an application, and before we know it, we might have created 4 accounts, and not only that, we have to write or however use a password management system to memorize the passwords, and then the next time we have to actually log in.
I've experienced all that.
So we're hoping that with Atypon Connect, we allow the researcher, and all of us really,
yes,
I mean, it doesn't have to be an active researcher, you can be anyone that's really engaged in the community in any sorts of ways, to have a unique scholarly profile, use the application to bring all things together. And what the beauty of it is that when you log in once in one application that's connected, basically you're seamlessly getting access to all the other applications. So you're identified, and therefore you no longer need to be typing in, usernames and passwords in every single place. I think the biggest strength of our offering, Atypon Connect, is that we also give users, full control of their data. So, privacy and security. We give full control to the user when they decide to use their Connect account in whichever application or tool or publisher site, which data they want to share.
Right.
So it's transparent, it puts the user into control, it gives them a very clear log of what data they share, and obviously which other accounts they may have connected
into their scholarly profile.
I see. I see. Well, that's very exciting. I mean, again, that's another a tool that enables you to increase your productivity and just manage your scholarly life in a much more efficient fashion.
Absolutely, and I think that's something that we're trying to, if you like, promote with all partners, all companies and players in the ecosystem to embrace and to support, because obviously that will have hopefully benefits for them as well. Like for me, when I was kind of at the early stages of this journey of discovery, was that I want to use certain applications, but I really don't want to create an account. And therefore, hopefully, partnering with other players, other companies in the entire ecosystem will be also good for them. That's what we hope, and that's how we are, planning to communicate the value that this product creates. Is that removing the obstacle of creating an account means that your user most likely will just say, I want to actually try this.
Well, I think that's true. It will encourage people to, as you say, try it. And because I know I've been inhibited from doing things by realizing, it's another account, another password, no thank you.
Exactly.
Whereas this would say, I'll give it a shot. Let's see what happens.
Exactly. So that's the conversations we're having now, across the board. I mean, looking at all the players and partners in the ecosystem to say, what we're offering this, and we really believe there's goodness for the researcher, and absolutely, as you said, great opportunity, because the barrier to entry of using a new application just because of the password, I know there's a lot of data supporting what you just testified. there's a lot of evidence around it. So I think we can speak personally and as an industry with data that people are inhibited. They will just say, I really have to want to do this.
Right. Yes. You're exactly
and
right.
It's not going to be something that I'll just try. The other tool that we have in our family is Remark.
Okay.
Which you didn't mention.
No, and I haven't heard. You tell me about that.
So Remark really is about annotations.
Okay.
Another, if you like, emerging area, and I think an area where the elements of collaboration, of people being able to leave their comments and their thoughts on a document, either publicly or on private groups, is becoming, as you've probably seen, more and more relevant. So Remark will offer that capability, and of course it's integrated with Connect. So it means that if you decide to annotate and you are on the publisher side or wherever, Remark is enabled, Connect is an option that's there already. So you will not have to create an account. You just go right in and start annotating.
When you say annotate, what would they be annotating? Would be
it could be, for example, in a private group. Let's say that we formulate a private group and we leave comments on a specific document. May that be a book or an article, but it could also be public comments that that could be enabled. So there are different ways that it can be used.
But it enables another form of communication among scholars. Sure.
Of course, and it's another way, if you like, to create new knowledge.
Yeah. That's
right?
true. Sure.
So it's almost a way of kind of processing what's there and creating new ideas and if you like, brainstorming or collaborating on what you have at hand.
Is Remark, is it available now, or is it coming down in the future?
It is available now, and we do have customers that are using it, and it's integrated also with Connect. So all that hopefully
it all comes together,
that smooth journey, and obviously all these applications, Citrus, Manuscripts, Authoria, Remark, all have one single account, which is Connect. We are now onboarding, as I told you, other partners to use the Connect account. So hopefully the more applications, the more publishers are within the Connect account, obviously the better value we
the richer it'll be.
Yes, and the better, but the bigger benefit also for the researcher as well.
Well, Eleni, before I let you go, I do want to ask you one question in the interest of not having missed anything. But I was wondering, and I do this to other folks that I interview, so I'm not just picking on you. But if you were sitting in my chair, what question would you ask yourself?
So if I was the interviewer?
Yes.
Ask myself as me being the subject of the interview?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just want to confirm.
Yeah, yep, you got it.
What question? It's an interesting one. Well, I would probably say, you know, what is that we see. It wouldn't probably relate directly to, you know, the Atypon. So I would probably ask the other person a more, if you like, thought-provoking question rather than a question specific to the company.
Okay.
So.
Do you have a question in mind?
For instance, one question would be, how would you see research in 10 years from now?
Well, you've got a good question. Do you have an answer?
I don't, actually, and that's why I think it's a thought-provoking question.
So
it's a very challenging
we
question,
can think about it.
kind of venturing into the unknown. But it's just something interesting to contemplate on. And I think we are all contemplating on it. And from my perspective, you know, I'll just try to reflect on that, not necessarily through the lenses of my role in Atypon or obviously my company, but reflect on it as, you know, people that we have been involved and engaged in this community through our colleagues, through our family, through our friends, through the younger generation who are becoming the researchers of tomorrow.
Yes.
And I think that's where I often reflect as to what is that researcher of today, you know, the researcher in the making, is going to expect from us to deliver to them so they can actually be their best.
Well, I think that's a question we need to be considering if we're going to stay in the business and stay viable and and helpful.
And we have to see the world through their eyes. Obviously, we have to keep seeing the world through our eyes.
Right.
All of us are relevant and valuable, but we have to obviously, you know, keep seeing the world through their eyes.
Yes.
And what the difference? What is it that they bring in? You know, there is definitely something they're bringing in. There's a new energy. There's a new perspective. And yes, when we start seeing that and we start empathizing with that and really understanding what do they want and how do they work and how do they think, what do they expect, we become more valuable, we become more relevant, and we're actually leading them, if you like. We're leading them into what the researcher would be, you know, in 10, 20 years. And I think it's a great time we're in, all of us, because there's a lot of opportunities, there's a lot of great things that are happening. You know, for example, for me, I find it fascinating, the whole initiative of code and data, interactive and reproducible science.
Yes, that's a big issue, is reproducibility.
Yes, and I think there's a lot of good energy into that. I mean, there's obviously a lot of unknowns, but nothing big is ever easy, and nothing big is ever known, right?
Well, the unknowns make it exciting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the unknowns made it exciting, and I think we are all, you know, in a very good position as a community in all the roles that we have to actually make it happen. And it's going to be a journey, and it has the unknowns and the complexity. But if we just reflect on where would we be in 10, 15 years from now, and what those researchers would be experiencing, because we helped develop these things with them and for them, and how the scientific outcomes would be, I mean, that's really fascinating.
Well, that was a great question. And I appreciate it. It's been fun chatting with you, and I have, as I often do, as I always do actually, when I do these interviews, I learn so much, and I want to thank you for that.
And thank you so much for your the opportunity to be here. And as they say, until the next time.
Until the next time. We'll see you in Charleston again next year. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.